sister here. Can we get her? Yes, yeah, we just need, can you stand up? It's a rhetorical question. This is going to go on your right side. Can you step up here on the front for a moment? Step over with her. Matt, yes. Please, this is pre-rendering the rendering of your account. Please repeat after me. In a former lifetime, I think I was taller, but okay. Baruch Dayan Ha'emet, we praise the Judge of Truth. We gather, and it is a very difficult time because it's really kind of you didn't expect that you would be here today. And so we gather to do the service for our dear Shelly. I'd like to begin with Psalm 121. Esai enai el haharim me'ayin yavo Ezri. Ezri me'im Adonai oseh shamayim va'aretz. Al yiten lamot raglecha, al yanum shomrecha. Hine lo yanum velo yishan shomer Yisrael. Adonai shomrecha, Adonai tzilcha ayad yaminecha. Yomam hashemesh lo yakeka v'yarech balayla. Adonai shmarcha mikol ra yishmor et nafshecha. Adonai shmar tzedcha avuecha me'ata v'ad olam. I lift up my eyes unto the mountains. From whence cometh my help? My help cometh from the Lord, maker of heaven and earth. God will not let your foot give way. Your protector will not slumber. See, the protector of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. God is your guardian. He is your protection at your right hand. The sun will not strike you by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord will guard you from all harm. He will guard your soul, your going and your coming, now and forever. Death has taken our beloved. Rochelle Linda Kubancik, Shelly, but she must have been called Rochelle at one time. Friends grieve in their darkened world. In their silence there is lamentation. In their tears there is loneliness. Lost in their sorrow may they find the presence of loving friends. Hear them, O God, and be with them. For Shelley's love that united so many people in life and which death cannot sever. For her companionship that we shared along life's path and which continues through the tenderness of memory. For the gifts of her heart and mind that brought joy and brought happiness, and which now are precious remembrance. For all of these and more, we give our thanks to God. In this time of grief, we listen once again to the voice of our sacred scriptures from Sefer Tehillim, from the book of Psalms. It tells us of our kinship with the Creator. In light as in darkness, in joy as in sorrow, in life as in death, let us recite together the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. It's a privilege to call forward one of her children, Ronnie, to come and speak words of eulogy, to pay tribute to his dear mother.
January 2nd, 2002. That was the day my father passed away. I got home that night. It was after midnight, and I knew I wouldn't be able to sleep. So I sat down at my desk and started writing out the many memories I had of him. Then a couple days later, we had his funeral, but I did not speak at his funeral, and I always regretted that. I would have wished that I had shared his memories. So I promised myself that if I ever had the chance to speak at my mother's funeral, I would do so. So here we are, February 21st, 2021. As I talk about my mom, you're going to hear the word love many times. My mother loved almost everybody she came in contact with and ended almost every conversation she ever had by saying, I love you. With many people, they end a conversation saying, I love you, and it's just a throwaway line. But not my mom. She really did love everybody, and when she said it, she meant it. My mom slowed down a lot the last 10 to 15 years, but my memories of her go back further. I think of the earlier years, the times growing up, going through high school, college, and her becoming a young grandma at the age of 47. I think of her then, and when I think of her, I think of words like vivacious, life of the party, fun, outgoing, and a friend to everyone. She really was the life of every party. She loved to dance, she loved to laugh, and she loved to have fun. She was a hit at every bar mitzvah and wedding. She really did love everyone, starting with her husband, Larry. Larry, you made her so happy all the years you were married. You're a remarkable man. You had a stroke several years ago. You lost your speech. You lost the use of your right arm, but you still managed to shop, cook, clean the house, do yard work, and even build birdhouses. In addition to the love my mother had for you, She also had incredible admiration for you, and we all do. She loved her children, me, David, and Amy. 2 boys and a girl, but Amy wanted me to mention that she was referred to by my mother as her son, Amy. Amy was quite the tomboy. My mother loved us unconditionally, and we could not have asked for a better mom. Yes, she loved us unconditionally, even when we did something that she didn't approve of. Sometimes that was me, sometimes it was Amy, and oftentimes it was David. Her grandchildren, Matt, Eric, Gabby, and Sammy. The 4 of you were the world to her. She loved you so, so very much. Her sister Donna. The 2 of you were as close and as loving as any 2 sisters could possibly be. You talked to each other nearly every day of your entire lives. Her brother Bruce. She was so proud of all of Bruce's accomplishments and loved hearing about his travel adventures. She loved to brag about Bruce, and Bruce and Patty's backyard was one of her favorite places in the world. It was truly her happy place, and she loved spending time there. Her parents, Yabo and Betty, she loved them with all her heart and missed them dearly every day from the time they were gone. Just a few weeks ago, she told me how much she still missed them, and she wished she could pick up the phone and talk to her mother one more time. She loved her nieces, her nephews, her cousins, her late brothers-in-law, her sisters-in-law, and her friends. She loved you, your spouses, your children, your grandchildren. And as an aside, I'm not going to mention names because if I named all the cousins, we'd be here till about 5 o'clock. Just know that she loved you all. My mother married my father at age 18, and she had me when she was 19. So there wasn't that big of an age gap between us. But I can't really say she was like an older sister because I never really thought of it that way. She was just my mother. But she was incredibly easy to talk to, and she was a great listener. And if I or someone else asked for her advice, she would give it, and her advice was almost always spot on. Probably the most vivid memory I have of my mom is her in the mornings sitting at the kitchen in her bathrobe. She would have the telephone in her left ear. She would have her cigarette in her right hand, and she would have a cup of coffee in front of her. And every day she would be on the phone. Every morning she would be on the phone for at least a couple of hours. She had to talk to her mother. She had to talk to her sister. She had to talk to her sister-in-law Marilyn and her friend Esta and some of her other friends. It was her daily routine. The other vivid memory I have of her is sitting in the backyard working on her suntan. If it was a sunny summer day or even a cloudy summer day, she'd be in the backyard sunbathing for at least a couple hours, and every once in a while she'd jump into the pool if it got too warm. Of course, if they had cell phones back then, she could have combined those things and she could have been on the phone while she was sunbathing, but she couldn't do that. You know, it's funny though, I have no real recollection of my mom cleaning the house, grocery shopping, running errands, and doing those types of things. I know she did them, I just can't remember it. While us kids were growing up, our mom, like many of the moms of that generation, did not have a job. Except her job was raising the family. As we got older, my mom got her first job at Sherry Roberts and Associates Employment Agency. I'm not sure, but that might have been the first job she ever had. Working was new to her, and she developed a great sense of accomplishment. Later on, she worked for Trading Post Coffee, and that job lasted many years until her retirement. It was the absolute perfect job for her because she had to visit and would be around a lot of customers and a lot of people. Trading Post was a coffee service company. They would supply coffee and tea to businesses and hospitals throughout the Cleveland area. And her job was to go to each customer's place of business and see what they needed and place their orders. Of course, while doing that, she became fast friends with many of the customers. My mom couldn't just take their coffee orders. She needed to sit and talk with them and find out about their lives, their families, their children. It was great public relations for the company because everybody loved her, but probably not great for Trading Post's bottom line. She was supposed to be in and out of there in 5 to 10 minutes, but usually would spend 20 to 30 minutes talking with the customers. But that was her. She was a friend to everyone. Athletics. My mom was probably the least athletic person I've ever known. Sometimes as kids, if we were outside shooting baskets or throwing around a football or a baseball, she would come out and join us. The only problem was she couldn't make a basket, she couldn't throw, and she couldn't catch. So after about 5 minutes, she would leave us and go back to talking on the phone or sunbathing. There was one exception, though, and that was racquetball. She took up racquetball in the late 1970s, and she would play at the old back wall in Beechwood. And she actually became pretty decent at it. Of course, she didn't play for the exercise or for the competition. She played for the socialization. She would play racquetball for an hour, and then her and her friends would sit at the bar and for 2 or 3 hours and have drinks and socialize. But that was her. But other than racquetball, for those couple years, sports were never her thing. She didn't play sports and other than racquetball, and she didn't really watch it on TV too much. In baseball, she'd never know the difference between an RBI or an ERA. And in football, she'd never know the difference between a screen pass or a safety blitz. But she was always at our football or baseball games or Amy's softball games, and she'd be there for support and encouragement. Of course, when I'd see her in the stand, she'd be talking to the other moms, laughing, not paying attention, and probably making plans for the upcoming weekend. One of the best things we did for our mom was to throw her an 80th birthday party. Now, in my mind, when we started planning her party, in my mind, I thought there would be maybe 15 people, just the immediate family, children, grandchildren, some close friends, some close family members. So we started planning this party, and Amy asked my mom to make a list of who she wanted there. When I saw the list, I nearly fainted. There were 77 names on it. But that's my mom, party big. And it turned out to be a wonderful, wonderful party. She had a great time. She loved seeing everybody, and she talked about it for months afterwards. Through the last 20, 25 years, I didn't talk to my mom as much as I probably should have. My routine was that I would call her about once every 2 weeks. Amy, of course, talked to her every day, multiple times, but I would talk to her once every 2 weeks. Of course, once she got sick, I would talk to her more often. And usually I would call her on my way home from work, once every 2 weeks. So a couple years ago, one day as I'm driving home, it was 2 weeks, so I called her, and of course she said, "Oh, I was wondering when you were going to call." But she said she had been thinking about something, and she said she decided she wanted to be cremated. And that kind of caught me by surprise, but I said, "Okay, if that's what you want, that's fine." And then she said, "Yes, I want my ashes divided 3 ways. One for you, one for your sister, and one for your brother." And I said, "Okay, if that's what you want, that's fine." And then she asked me, "What would you do with my ashes?" I thought about it for a half a second, and I said I'd put them in the closet, and once every 2 weeks I'd come out and talk to her. We had a really good laugh about that one. Lastly, I want to share an inside joke that I've shared with my mother for several years. As I mentioned before, my mom always ended every conversation saying, "I love you." And for as long as I remember, I never said it back as a joke. She knew I loved her, but I just wouldn't say it. She would say, "I love you," and I would say, "Okay." Or sometimes I would say, "Thank you," but I just wouldn't say I loved her. And it was just my way of teasing her. And sometimes we'd go back and forth. She would say, "I love you." I would say, "Okay." She would say, "Can't you say it?" I would say, "Yes." She would say, "So say it." I'd say, "Okay." And we'd hang up. We'd both be cracking up. So now, Mom, I know you're here, and I know you're listening, so I want you to know, and I will say it, I love you.
And to all those words spoken as a prayer, let us say Amen. So this afternoon we gather to reminisce, to pay our respects, to shed some tears, to smile and to laugh, and to recall your dear Shelly. Her Hebrew name, Rochelle, Leah. Rochelle is the Ashkenazi pronunciation of Rachel. Rachel was one of the matriarchs of our people. I don't know if Rachel cooked or baked. You said your mom didn't do that either. But Rachel means a little lamb, which is cute, a little lamb. So she was cute. And Leah is another matriarch of our people, Leah. She was a social butterfly. She was fun. She was friendly. You know this. She was the life of the party. And everyone loved her. And as family members spoke about her and her social personality, I had to put on the tie with the smiley faces because, she was the life of the party. And I was reminded of a story in the Talmud of a saintly rabbi who constantly was pondering the mysteries of life beyond the grave. And one day this rabbi was walking through the town square, market square, like on a farmer's market, and he came into direct spiritual communication with Eliyahu Hanavi, with Elijah the prophet. Elijah the prophet we invite to every Passover Seder, as you know, and Elijah is supposed to be the forerunner of the Messiah, the Messianic time. And this rabbi comes into direct spiritual communication with Elijah and asks Elijah, will any of these people in the marketplace share the bliss of the world to come after they have died and I have died? And Elijah points to a couple of people on the far side of the market, and the Talmud says they are entertaining the people with their playfulness. And the rabbi says to Elijah, what? These simple performers are going to share the bliss of the world to come with me? I mean, what merits do they possess? And Elijah answered, they have joyful, fun-loving spirits that brighten up the hearts of others. And in so many ways that was Shelly, as she has been described, and as you have spoken of her. That was Shelly. She brightened up the hearts of others. She would listen to you kvetch about whatever, and she would give you her view and her opinion and her consultation on it. She was born here in Cleveland, August 2nd, 1939. Her parents of blessed memory, Norman and Betty Gaynor. She was the middle child, as you know. She's survived by her siblings Donna and her younger brother Bruce. Donna said, she's my baby sister. She was a beautiful, wonderful sister. No one could be a better sister. Every time I think of her not being here, it's unreal. She was loving. I'm going to miss her very, very much. She was magnificent. She was warm-hearted. She was darling. If I needed her, she'd always be there for me. Nothing I can say is enough. And we talked every day. I loved her so much. Bruce recalled, it's hard to encapsulate a life. She was always worried about everybody else. She was the first to call you, concerned about everybody else before herself. If I had a cold, she'd call me like 10 times a day. She was a bit of a nudnik, but in a loving way. She graduated from Heights High School, as you know, 1957. She married that same year Kenny Schickler, November 30th, 1957. They loved each other. They took care of one another. And they did the best they could for about 23, 24 years. Many have been the blessings of family. I am going to list the people they gave me. So if I miss anybody, you can call it out. But we have 3 children and 4 grandchildren. Ronnie, married to Cindy. David, significant other. Jeannie, or we'll just call him Lucky. And Amy, married to Scott. The grandchildren, Matt, married to Caitlin. Eric, married to Emily. Gabby, where's Gabby? Oh, hi, my condolences. I didn't see you before. My condolences. And Sammy. Also condolences to Larry's children, Jimmy and Lynn, and there are others as well. Ronnie, when you said that she was a stay-at-home mom, we all know now that's no picnic. It's a tough job, even if you're on the phone and sunbathing, because you got to look after you guys, or me guys. I mean, it's not an easy thing. She was very street smart, you added. You said she didn't go to college, but you don't have to go to college to be smart. We all know this. Yeah, you have to develop wisdom in life. You said we weren't real religious. We went to Heights Temple, and we celebrated the Jewish holidays. Amy recalled, she was my best friend. We were super close. She was always there for us and always fun. On Wednesday nights, and this has got to be the 70s, right? On Wednesday nights, we went to the Marriott to dance disco. That was her favorite thing when she was younger. You can just see it. Was she wearing white? Probably. Showing John Travolta some moves. She was amazing and always there for us. We talked multiple times a day. She was a mom to many of my friends, to many of our friends, and she had a way of making you feel better if you were down. And she loved Larry. They married in December 1992 and took great care of each other. She helped him learn how to walk and talk again. They had each other. And for those of us married, we know this is really what it all comes down to. You have each other and you love each other. You take care of each other. Amy also went on to say the grandchildren were the highlight of her life. She used to work and then come over every day after work. We lived around the corner. Her life really revolved around the family. We lived together in Marsall Towers in the mid to late 80s. And then we both got married. I mean, living with your mother. But a friend. Your mother is your best friend. We used to love to go to the pool there. And now I know because of the sunbathing in the pool, it's a good combination. Did the telephone have a very long cord back in the day? Don't you remember that at your house? I mean, we had the cord, you could pull the thing like 50 feet away. Right. I actually liked that better than cordless, to be honest with you. You always knew where the phone was. You could find it. And she always loved getting Scott's morning love you texts. He's the best son-in-law in the family, I think. In that generation, right? It's a short list, but still, you could be the worst. Yeah. She used to brag about how great her son-in-law was. She loved him. And David wrote a letter for his mother, which he's asked me to share. Okay. Dear Mom, I know I was a stellar child, a delight to raise, and never got in trouble. Okay, we all know that that's not true. I think we just had a few chuckles here in the gallery. I may have been less than perfect, but I was always able to make you laugh and to cheer you up, to put a smile on your face, and even make you proud. Growing up, you were always so happy to be around and in a good mood, even though Dad wasn't always the most pleasant to live with some of the time. I always remember how much you loved us, your family, block parties, sunbathing, vacationing, your lifelong friendships, and of course, good food. I cherish our many vacations, sitting down for family dinner every night, all of us watching TV together, family drives in the country, going for ice cream, Little League, and relaxing in our pool with friends and family. Well, Mom, now on to business. You told me many times over the last few months how much you didn't want anyone to make a fuss, grieve, and mourn when you pass away. Now, I didn't always listen to you growing up, and I can't listen to you now. What I can do is share my thoughts and perspectives so that I may bring a little relief to our friends and family, and I hope I make you proud. So, how do we pick up the threads after losing you? How do we go on? In our hearts, we must understand that as much as we would like, there is no going back. We must accept that there are some things in life that time cannot mend, some hurts that go too deep, things that can never be undone, a loss too great. This is our reality, and we must accept it. As much as we miss you, we must desperately try to abandon our heartbreak, our grief, and do your memory proud by moving on and doing our best to be happy, loved, and comfortable. That is what you told me you wanted for us. To not mourn your death, but to celebrate your life. Mom, you will remain in our hearts and in our thoughts each and every day. The world and our lives will still go on. We must go on as we gather with our families, celebrate holidays and milestones with a hole in our hearts from your passing. You will be there with us as we embrace our future and all its possibilities, as we find new and exciting ways to live, to love, and to share happiness. I'll be seeing you. Love, David. On Monday, Shelly breathed her last. And now there is no more pain or deterioration of her body or her mind. There is just rest and wholeness and peace. Just as Shabbat is a day of rest, now for her it is a time of rest. Her soul is returning to God and to be with souls of her dear relatives and friends and ancestors of our people. We learn this in Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 7. The dust returns to the earth as it was. The spirit returns to God who gave it. Her soul will return to God. And one day, all of us will be with our loved ones in a time called Olam Haba. Judaism talks about Olam Haba, the world to come. It's a time. This is a place, but Olam Haba is a time. It's an eternal time. It's a spiritual existence. So you'll be together again with her, and however that is in Olam Haba, in the world to come, you'll communicate with her, and you'll be together again. You have many, many memories, filled to overflowing, of your dear Shelly, and we give thanks to God for the gift of this life. We would have hoped for more years, and we would have hoped for more years in health. And so do things that will bring her honor and will be a tribute to her memory. There are so many that come to mind with a smile on the face that it should be a real comfort to do the things that she loved to do with a smile on your face. And we've all been to many funerals in our lives and memorial services in our lives, and sometimes there isn't much to smile about a person. She's got a lot to give you to smile about, which is a beautiful thing. And she was a Browns fan. Was she any other fan? No, that was it. She a Tribe fan? All right, well, I got a Chief Wild Keepa too. And the Bronsky powder. They're in my car. I'll show you later. There are people that don't like me to wear that, but, you know, who cares? Well, I obviously don't care. I apologize for that. But I do care. To be a member of the tribe is an important thing, and she was a member of the tribe in many, many ways. However, think of her and smile and laugh through the tears. And as much as she was on the phone with other people, please consider reaching out to a person in your life who maybe you haven't spoken with for a little while. Get on the phone. If it's not with a cord, you know, use a cell. But call and be in touch with someone who needs to hear your voice. And so we conclude with tears in our eyes with the words from the first chapter of the book of Job. Adonai natan v'Adonai lakach, Yehi Shem Adonai Muvarach. The Lord hath given, the Lord hath taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Amen. Ose shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru yimru amen. Ya'aseh shalom, Ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, Ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. May God, who causes peace to reign in the high heavens, cause peace to rain down upon us, upon all Israel, and upon the soul of our dearly departed, Shelly, Kubancik, Rochelle, and let us say, Amen. Please rise for the El Maleh Rachamim prayer, to be followed by the Kaddish. Into your care, O God, we entrust the spirit of our dear Shelly. For you keep faith with your children in death as in life. Sustain us that we may meet with serenity the mysteries that lie ahead, knowing that when we walk through the valley of the shadow of death, you, O God, are with us, a loving friend, in whom we put our trust. You are the light of our life, our hope in eternity. El Maleh Rachamim, Shochen Pamromim, Hametzeh Menucha Nechona, Tachat Kanfei Hashchina, Im Kedoshim Utohorim, Kezohar Mazhirim, Et Nishmat Rochelle שהלך לעולמה בעל הרחמים יסתיריה בסתר כנפיו לעולמים ויצרור בצרור החיים את נשמתה אדוני הוא נחלתה ותנוח בשלום על משכבה ונאמר Amen. Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to our dear Shelly, who has entered eternity. O God of mercy, let her find refuge in the shadow of your wings, and let her soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is her inheritance. May she rest in peace, and let us say, Amen. And we sanctify God's name as we recite the Kaddish prayer. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, ba'alma divra chirutei v'yamelich malchutei, b'chai echon v'yomechon v'chai l'chol beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'vizman kari v'yimru, Amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam ol'almei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal, shmei d'kudashah b'richu, Le'ila min kol berachata v'shirata, tush b'chata v'nechamata, da'amiran ba'alma v'yimru, Amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shmaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'yimru, Amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'yimru, Amen. The Kaddish is a sanctification of God in loving memory of your dear. And it does not mention death at all. Here is the English translation. Let the glory of God be extolled. Let his great name be hallowed in the world whose creation he willed. May his kingdom soon prevail in our own day, our own lives, and the life of all Israel. And let us say, Amen. Let his great name be blessed forever and ever. Let the name of the Holy One, blessed be he, be glorified, exalted, and honored, though he is beyond all the praises, songs, and adorations that we can utter, and let us say, Amen. For us and for all Israel, may the blessing of peace and the promise of life come true, and let us say, Amen. May he who causes peace to reign in the high heavens, let peace descend on us, on all Israel, and all the world, and let us say, Amen. Lech kishilachecha Adonai, go your way, Shelly, for God has called you. Lech v'Adonai ye'imach, go your way, and may God be with you. V'halach lefanecha tzidkecha, kavod Adonai yasfecha. May your righteousness go before you, and may the glory of God receive you. Would everyone who is here not wearing a ribbon, please repeat these words, speaking them to the mourners. May God console you with all who mourn in Zion and Jerusalem. Hamakom yinachem etchem b'toch Shavet Etzion v'Yerushalayim. We will recite Kaddish for Shelly for the next month, every Friday night service, every Wednesday afternoon, Hebrew school, because the students need reps in the Kaddish, and every Sunday morning, Sunday school, because the students need reps in the Kaddish, and they'll say Kaddish for her, or saying Kaddish for Shelly for a whole month. Sure, it'll be a privilege to do so. The family in her memory, they are suggesting to make donations to the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation or the Greater Cleveland Food Bank. And this concludes our service here at the funeral home. May her memory be for a blessing. Thank you, sir. It's over freezing finally. Weather app, it's 35 degrees right now. Wow. That's